tracked down most of the Citizen Brick Mad Max minifigures that they've made. Didn't get the Fury Road set, so I was very happy when I saw that Orbital Minifigures released a couple of characters from that movie, so I can probably get versions of them in the collection. I already had Lord Humongous from years ago. I have the Mohawk guy from that set that I haven't opened yet, and of course, the Mad Max from Road Warrior. But very excited to kind of compare how two different companies tackled the Mad Max character, especially since obviously different movies, but maybe different, maybe still similar designs. And obviously just having a Furiosa in the collection too is very nice to have finally. With that being said though, let's get these minifigures out of the cases and onto the stand. Starting with Max, I'm very impressed with this figure for a couple different reasons, including having dual molded legs, and I believe what looks like a dual molded arm. So I'm going to swivel that quick and double check. I'm almost positive. And oh, that is a printed arm, but looks like a dual molded arm, so that's very effective. Way to go, Dayton, on that. Really fooled me. I wasn't even sure who would have had a dual molded dark gray sleeve to tan like that. Maybe a Harry Potter character. I don't know, but that looks great. Really liking the print there. Right out of the packaging, he's got his like muzzle on from the beginning of the movie when he was kidnapped by the war boys and all that. So that's a nice detail to get. I believe this is like an Ninjago part that just slides over the neck. Maybe it's Nexo Knights since it is night themed. Not sure if I would want to keep that on, but it's good to have options, so I'll just pop that off for the rest of the review. But that is another one of the accessories. You get two different brick arms weapons as well, one of which being a pistol, the other being this combat knife, which must mean that these are the weapons from later in the movie, because I don't think he had a pistol at the beginning. He had his like shotgun with no ammo, so I'm pretty sure he picks that up on the war rig. Good to have a weapon, and it is a nice brick arms piece. I don't think I have that one in the collection yet. Looking at the legs again, where I already mentioned that they're dual molded. A lot of great printing. The dual mold on the back does all the heavy lifting for the boots. No printing on the back. But on the sides, you got the pouch there. Or I guess that could be a holster, but pretty sure it's just a pocket. On this side, you have his leg brace, which is also present in the version from the Road Warrior. And continues the continuity of the character, I guess, or maybe this is kind of an added liberty from Orbital to kind of tie the two movies together. I have to look at more pictures from both movies, but it's kind of fun to see that continued. Front of the legs are going to have some different stitch marks, some dirt, and a little bit of extra strap detailing, which again, unfortunately, doesn't continue to the back of the leg, which is something that is found on the Citizen Brick version. But obviously cost more for something that would be barely on there because of where the anti-stud on the back of the leg is. I'm going to guess no printing on the inside of the leg. Nope. Which, again, with the dual mold, that does a little bit of the heavy lifting there. We don't necessarily need it. Looking at likeness of the face, I don't know if I necessarily see Tom Hardy there. I feel like it kind of fits the tone of the movie, though, so you can get away with it. Especially with like the mouthpiece over it, I don't think it would be as noticeable. I'm sure when it comes to official minifigure heads or custom ones, you could find a pretty good option to toss on there, honestly. But I do like what we do have where there's scratches, scars, the facial hair looks pretty nice, cheekbones make it look skinny. Hairpiece wise, probably the best option for Tom Hardy from the movie. But maybe you could find something else, a custom piece or something that would also work. Sleeve's going to have another patch just like the front of the legs, and again just showing the side there where there is some stitching for additional leg detailing that's going to be on one side, not the other, where the pocket is. And the back of the torso has this really interesting, I guess, backpack design where you might have like some tape detailing, buckle detailing. It's got like a metallic piece there that could be food or flashlight, something along those lines, a car part. But I do like the use of dark tan here. I think that blends pretty well, ties some different aspects of this print to the back, like the printed t-shirt, again, the sleeve printing there, which I guess is nice to continue that it is a long sleeve shirt underneath there. I do really like that there's the sweat, I'm assuming, that are the dark spots or grease, whatever, different smudges from life in the waist. Glad to have a version of this character since I only had the Road Warrior version. I think this definitely is going to fit into my collection pretty well. And let's jump to Furiosa. Overall, there's going to be less printing on this character since nothing on the side of the legs on either side. No printed arm at all. You get the brick arms robot peg for one side here for her prosthetic arm. Do really like the smaller silver print with the logo for the War Boys. And the mixes of browns there is also nice, where you have like the reddish brown for some of the straps, the dark brown, which continues the legs onto some of the torso as well. Subtle little bit of curve with some dark tan printed for the abstract space there on both sides of the torso. And creases, stitch marks on her shirt on both sides to add some extra depth and detailing, which is nice, adds to the character obviously. And I do feel like the continuity here with the straps continuing around looks very nice and would work if there was printed on the side of the torso, which I don't like having anyway. But as you rotate it around, you can see the lines are where they should be. Always love the metallic printing, whether it is just some subtle buckle detailing on belts and all that, or like I said, the little bit of detailing on the belt for the logo, as well as, again, additional buckles. As you rotate the legs, you can see that there are additional straps that continue along the top of them. So it's nice to see them continue and not just end. And as you do that, the logo ascends past the outline. So that's kind of funny. I guess you're going to want to have this, oop, there goes the gun, sitting or in the perfect standing position. Otherwise, the logo will be broken up. So it's something to keep in mind as you're taking photos, I guess. You saw the brick arms rifle that she comes with fly out of her hand. Not found in her hand in the packaging, just due to the size of it is a bigger piece. Nice detailing to it again, where I'm just glad to get some sort of weapon. It's always a bummer when characters don't come with anything to fight with, especially when that is kind of their main plot points in their respective media. I don't think you're going to be able to do any two-hand poses with this, especially with the robot hand, but you could probably almost get it across the torso if you were fancy with it. Looks like you might have to switch the hand around, but of course there won't be any hand rotation on the robot hand, but you can pretty much get it to that type of pose if you wanted to. Like I said, it does have this brick arms robot piece, which is newer from the last couple of years, and then just a normal Lego arm. And it is just a peg that connects to the inside of the torso. It's going to be a little bit tough to get off, since I'm assuming you'd have to kind of pry at it. I do have another version of this that I'm going to throw on, where I have the silver robot arm part that is also another molded piece with some articulation, which I do think would be pretty fitting for this character. Probably maybe works a little bit better, but you can see it is just a peg that you put into the hole in the torso to have a connection point for a bar, or I guess a clip, I should say. It looks nice. You got the dark gray here, which I guess would be fitting for a more muted metal or rusty metal versus just clean silver. But I do think I'd rather have the metallic look. And then to the face, I do think the design here is pretty accurate to her in the movie. We get the nice dark gray wrapping around most of the head, a little bit on top of it as well, which is a little bit harder to see as we're looking at the face, and I do like the stern expression. Again, likeness-wise, don't know if I 100% see Charlize Theron, but fits the atmosphere of the character in the universe, which is more of what I'm looking for. I look at this, I know it's Furiosa, so perfect. Again, let's just get this arm on. I'll have to figure out how I can swap the pegs. So yeah, that would be the one downside. You can see that the arm is a little bit longer, which maybe is accurate to the movie if I remember right. It probably wouldn't end up being the same length as a normal arm anyway. And as you bend it, it makes it a little bit better scaling-wise. But I honestly think this looks better too, since it's a little bit skinnier maybe. But also pretty similar, honestly, if I hold it by the top of the peg and kind of lined it up, you can see that the hand position is only a little bit longer on this. But obviously you'd have to buy this. I did already have one for use in my collection at some point. So it wasn't like I had to pick it up. But it is kind of nice. You already get the peg there that is in the dark gray, which honestly doesn't look too bad if you have the silver and the dark gray next to each other. Like I said, though, if I really wanted to, I could switch out the peg to combine or match the colors on both parts. But I think this is a worthwhile upgrade if you wanted to do that, or if you already have them in your collection. It looks pretty good on it as well. But with that said, let's go to some comparisons and of course the final verdict. I'm very happy with both characters that I got here, and they definitely fit in with the rest of the Mad Max or post-apocalyptic minifigures I have in my collection from different custom companies. My other Mel Gibson minifigure there from Braveheart to kind of create a trifecta of characters in this universe. Obviously, Mel Gibson here and Tom Hardy there. So differences in their versions of the designs, obviously, but it is interesting to see some continuations like the brace on the leg. Another detail that I didn't remember seeing in the movie for Fury Road, so the customizers are paying a little bit of extra attention, and it is fun to see little details like that. Printing on the sleeve for him to make it look like it's dual molded is great and adds to the value. And on top of that, for him as well as Furiosa having guns, it's just an added bonus for accessories. Like I said, switching out the arm there is a great upgrade. Super simple. If you already collect brick arms and have one in your collection, it just enhances the look. I'm sure it would just cost a lot more for him to produce the minifigure if he included one of these with all of them. So I could understand why he didn't want to do that. But just look at that. Looks great. Both of them together fit very well. Again, the facial design here for Tom Hardy, I don't know about that, but for Mad Max, perfect. You can fit that in. It's just like post-apocalyptic survivor of some sort. Maybe for the video game where it is a little bit more abstract. But having these next to each other is fun. The more black leather suit look, it definitely is iconic in its own right, and brings me back to like the Fallout games, where that is one of the basically inspirations for the outfits in that game. But loving the dirty look here with the different spots. Very great effect. And I made my own custom version of the Warboy here. That's really the only Mad Max character at this point I feel like I'm missing. Maybe I would want Immortus, because I think he has a decent design too, but Lord Humongous, great. And it's fun to see all the different custom companies, which I always say in all my reviews, where you can have different brands next to each other, whether it is Citizen Brick, True Red, or of course now these Orbital minifigure versions that are also in my collection. They're all pretty consistent. These ones also lean towards the more Lego aesthetic, which I do enjoy, since that just adds to the compatibility. But nothing to complain about here. If you can pick them up, I would definitely recommend them if they're still in stock. And really all of their products I've gotten from Orbital have been outstanding. If you want to see more custom Lego pop culture minifigures or custom Lego videos overall, check out all the content on my channel. I have been Brick Radiop, and I will see you in the next video.